Okay. All right. And I'm go ahead and click continue, though I do not like hearing my voice coming back to me, but nobody does, right? We're not aware of how we sound until we see it on recording. Let me, come on. Yes. So we're going to be presenting tonight on self-care and stress management. Like I said a little bit earlier, but if you hopped in, maybe you didn't hear, my name is Steph Kastely. I'm a fully licensed professional counselor. And you know what? I've been a professional counselor and I always have to look up because I still can't do the math. But I've been a professional counselor for 7 years. And all my experience as a counselor actually comes from university students. I got my master's in counseling here from Wayne State and my PhD from Wayne State. And back in the day, I was an intern with CAPS, and lo and behold, here I am back at CAPS. So all my experience comes from Wayne State students. But I also kind of manage our suicide prevention initiative too. It was a federal paid for initiative. That federal grant is ended, but since I'm here and I really don't say no to anything, we're still running trainings and whatnot. But I'll let my my co-presenter and trainer introduce herself.
So my name is Blessing Igiogbe. I'm an MSW intern. I also have a lot of years in social services. I run a group home in Michigan, in Detroit, for some years. It's going to be 20 years now. The group home is 20 years old. So I was a manager there, and I also founded the group home. So most of my experience is working with older adults and young adults as well, preferably depression, autism, and MS. So that's where most of my experience come from. I'm just dabbling into clinical work, so I'm excited for what's to come after graduation.
Oh, that's right. The fun begins. Clinical work. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And, we'll be watching the chat too. So if any questions come up, we'll try our best to answer them as we roll through this together. But I'm just going to try to keep us on time, just to make sure we get through everything. But what we're going to be covering today, we're going to be covering stress management first, and then we're going to move into self-care. We're going to talk about, what is stress? How can we recognize it? How can we maybe find some healthier and more effective ways to manage it? And then we're going to dive into self-care. But let me roll on through here. Oops, get back there. There we go. Um, so what do we know about stress? And sometimes it's common for us to say I'm feeling stressed. And like that's one of my favorite words, stressed and frustration, because stress can look differently for each of us. I'm sure when I say feeling stressed, something's popping into your head as to what that looks like. But at the bare basic level, stress is our response to the environment, the demands and pressures that are placed on us. But you know what? Sometimes it's environment, sometimes we place those demands and pressures on ourselves too. And just like everything that goes on in our lives, stress can keep coming back. It can be a short period of stress or a long term period of stress. And we're going to talk a little bit more about these physical changes that can come from stress, those responses, our cognitive, how it affects our thoughts, how it affects how we behave, but also how it affects our feelings. And when it comes to stress, too, we all perceive it differently and we all perceive change differently. So, what we're going to be presenting on tonight are some common strategies, common symptoms of stress, common self care um, strategies. So, something I want to challenge you guys to do tonight is see what you can take away from this and apply to wherever you're at right now in your life and all the different roles that we balance on top of ourselves. So like I said, we're going to be moving through. So I'm wondering and I'm going to open this up to the chat if you feel like responding. When you're feeling stressed, where do you feel it? Where do you feel it on your body?
My heart.
In the heart. Yeah. 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 That's part of our stress response system, right? We feel the heart pumping because our body is really good at responding to stress sometimes, but it's an old system and it doesn't know if we're feeling stressed about an exam, for example, or if we're perceiving a life-threatening threat. But yeah, the heart, where else are we feeling stress? Let's see my orange.
The
The
head.
throat.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, head,
Someone
the
said the
mind.
head, the mind. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We can feel that pressure, headaches. And when I hear the mind, I'm thinking of thoughts too. So you guys are right. Yeah, the gut.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Stress is something that really, if we're feeling stressed about something, then our body starts feeling stressed, and then we feel more stressed because our body's feeling stressed, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and we feel more uncomfortable and stressed, sweaty hands. Yeah. Just sweat in general, right? Because our body is responding to stress. Um, and what you guys have in the chat or what was mentioned, you're right. We can experience all different types of physical side effects when it comes to stress. And, sometimes when it comes to just mental health in general, sometimes it's the physical symptoms that we notice first that hits our radar because the body is telling us, hey, something's up. But these are just some of the usual physical sides when it comes to stress. Now, this doesn't mean that if we're experiencing some of these symptoms, any of them that I'm going to put up here, that it's guaranteed to be stress. But we know this is how stress can present in us. We can certainly experience some of those. Like for me, when I'm stressed, I feel it in my shoulders because I hunch. So I got to make sure watching myself. Or I've worked with clients who grind their teeth at night, so they're feeling jaw pain when they wake up in the morning. And then when we're stressed, that can affect how we behave, the actions that we take. And if you take a look at some of these behaviors and actions, some of them some of us may help us feel better at first, but they're not effective over the long term. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those unhealthy strategies. Um, but when we're feeling stressed, we might feel like we have to do everything at once. We may, have a hard time concentrating. And if you think about it, if we're stressed, our physical stress response system is taking over sometimes. And I don't know about everyone here, but when I'm feeling stressed, I'm kind of craving certain foods too. I'm craving foods that maybe I shouldn't be eating as much. I'm always big on, you deserve a treat, but sometimes too much of a treat. And if you're craving like carbs and sugar and fatty foods, that's your body. Your body's responding to that stress, and stress eating can come up, and it's prepping you to either fight something or run away from something. Mm. And I saw in the chat here about anger, right? Anger is definitely something. And we're going to see that when we work our way over to feelings that, you know, anger can certainly come out when we're feeling stressed. And that's a common response. Anger or feeling irritable can certainly come out when we're feeling stressed. Yeah. And I'm seeing too with the exam promising never help someone again. And that can certainly, and it's important too that you're kind of recognizing the feeling.
Boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, the feeling under that. And that's the first big step. What we're talking about here is just awareness, because sometimes we go through our day and it doesn't, I call it radar. It doesn't hit our radar that something's going on. Um, but we appreciate in the chat too, we appreciate everyone sharing and whatnot, because that helps us get something out of this. It helps us make a personal connection to what we're talking about. And then for the emotional side, right? We saw there was anger in the chat, but there's a whole bunch of other feelings that can come out. And these are the common feelings that come up when we're feeling stressed. But if you notice, some of these up here, they might add even more to our stress, like that lack of motivation or focus. But it's important, that if we're feeling a certain way, uh, to be curious with ourselves. You're going to hear me mention this again when we talk about self-care. I'm big on curiosity because curiosity is without judgment. I'm being curious with myself. Um, but these are some of the common feelings that can come from stress. And that's also important when, we hear the word stressed. I'm sure we've said it to someone, or someone we care about or someone we work with has said, I'm feeling really stressed today. That curious part of our brain can be, I wonder what that stress looks like. Because when I hear stressed, I know that me stressed is probably different than you feeling stressed. So being curious, when we're feeling stressed, we're feeling other, and there's a big clinical term, we're feeling other things as well. So kind of again, that curiosity with yourself, because the more we know about how we're feeling, that gives us more information to work with on how to maybe help ourselves feel better. And then our thoughts when we're feeling stressed. Like I know when I'm feeling stressed or burnt out a little bit, I forget things. It's just I'm too stressed to keep track of everything I have to do. But we may notice that it's hard to concentrate. It may be hard when it says difficulty processing information. You don't have to answer this in the chat, but have you ever had a conversation with someone and someone says something to you and you totally just doesn't register, and you're too awkward? You don't want to ask someone to repeat themselves, so you just go, uh huh, yeah, 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 yeah. That can happen. But also these negative self statements. We're pretty hard on ourselves. And when it comes to stress, and earlier when it was talking about feelings, it mentioned like depression. When we're feeling depressed too, our brain tends to make everything seem like it's our fault. And that's what our brain does. It makes it seem like we're the center of the universe. That things do revolve around us, but they don't. Um, right. And some people can take their stress on other people, and then that stresses the other person out. And then I got two people who are stressed or panicked, and nothing gets done when we're all stressed, right? Um, and that's something too to keep in mind. And that's why we're going to be talking about self care tonight. It's because we're taking care of our stress, but you know what? We can't control other people's stress. And if we know that other people might stress us out, or we have a feeling that other people are kind of throwing their stress onto us, that's where taking care of ourselves is really important. It's like protects us. Protects us because we can't control those other people. But if we take care of ourselves, it might influence other people. And my theoretical orientation in counseling is cognitive behavioral therapy. So I'm big about how our thoughts and behaviors affect other people and can affect ourselves. Um, but that's why we're going to be talking about a lot about how we take care of ourselves, because it can help us, but it may indirectly help other people around us. And I skipped it when I was talking about this. I skipped excessive worry because I saved that one for last when we're talking about stressful thoughts. I'm sure ourselves or people in our lives, we may know that worry about a lot of things, and worry about a lot of things that we have absolutely no control over. But that worry makes it seem like we can control it. And a lot of everything that we're talking about tonight, when we talk about mental health, that might bring up feelings in ourselves. But also, when we do presentations like this, we're showing you guys symptoms of like stress or mental health. If you're experiencing some of these, that's okay. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or anything like that. It's just increasing our awareness into what we're going through and kind of what we feel we can do about it right now. Let's see if this clicks. And I'm going to hop it on over to Blessing.
Thank you, Steph. So in my section, we're going to talk about the A's of stress management. A lot of the time, we don't know how to manage stress, so it tends to get even more stressful. So one of the first A is to alter. We need to remove the source of stress. Like somebody mentioned in the chat box that other people stress them out. So if we're able to set boundaries for those people, a lot of our stress will be reduced. Time management, because we're all students, so we're not so great with time management because then we have so much assignments, work, and every other thing that going on in our lives. So setting proper time management can also help us manage stress. Problem solving, being creative, um, is important. Sometimes, as an individual, we feel like, oh, this problem is too much. I can't. There's no other way out of it. But when we think about other options, sometimes it's so simple to solve the issue, and also being able to have effective communication with people around us, with the individuals that's stressing us out or any other things that's stressing us out. Being able to communicate, it's also very important to communicate that when you're feeling stressed, to communicate it to people that's around you. I'm really stressed out right now, I just need some time to be alone, I need some to go for a walk. That also helps as well with stress management. So another one is to avoid. Again, setting boundaries is important, that when you're in the midst of people that stressed you out or give you some sort of issues, to remove yourself. Setting those boundaries, taking yourself out of that situation is also very important. And create, and also remembering that this thing is causing me a lot of stress, so I need to avoid it in the future and not participate in it. And learning how to say no, that's one of my biggest issue personally. I don't know how to say no to things, so it's important to also to learn how to say no. Sometimes we stress ourselves so thin that, we just want to be helpers to everybody else, not remembering that we also need help. And delegating like issues. So delegate, if you have other things to do and there's someone that can help you, delegate that to the people around you, or to a friend, or whatever it is, whoever it is that's around you that can help you with the situation. Accept. So it's important to accept the situation, to accept that this thing is stressing me out and I need to figure it out and solve the problem. It's also important to prepare on how to deal with it. It's instead of ignoring it, and when you ignore it, it becomes a bigger stress. But when you deal with it, you're able to create better um, um, coping techniques to help you with the issue. So perception is also very important. It's also important to think of it as a challenge rather than a threat. So if there's, like, for example, there's chemistry class that's stressing you out. Think of it as a challenge. Don't think of it as a threat. Think of ways that you can be able to manage the chemistry class, like going to taking tutoring classes or asking, your cohorts for help. So that's a challenge to learn, not a threat to your being. So, healthier stress management strategy. Some of the things that we have spoken about earlier. Going for a walk help us clear our head, help us get fresh air, and that also help us, reduce a lot of the stress that we go through. Spending time in the nature, calling a friend, having communication. We're living in a very unprecedented time. We're stuck on the screen every day. We're not having human interaction, so it's important to try to get a little bit of that human interaction on your day-to-day life, like speaking to a good friend or to family members. That also help reduce a lot of your stress. I know that we can't go to the gym, but we can go for a walk. That's the workout on its own. We can climb the stairs a couple of times, or just do some jumping jacks or something at home. That also helps reduce stress. So these are some of the ways that you can reduce stress. And I was just wondering if anybody else have any other strategies that help them reduce stress. And then you can also put that in the comment or just in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself and say it. Someone said talking to someone. That's a great way to reduce stress. Very great way.
I'm curious about that too, talking to someone. how do you all know when someone's like a really good person to talk to? Or how do you know that's your go-to person that's going to listen to you? How do we know those people in our lives? Their vibe. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah. We got a vibe with them. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah. Ooh, take a
Taking a
nap.
nap.
Mm,
That's a good one.
yeah.
Helps
Well,
you to reset.
yeah. How do you handle stress, Blessing?
So I go for a massage. I
Mm,
know
nice.
it's a luxury sometimes, but I like going for massages. So I tend to go for massages like twice a month
Mm,
because it really because I feel my stress in my body just like how you feel your stress. My stress is basically on my shoulders and my neck.
mm,
So I need
nice.
some of that massage to release the tension.
Nice, nice. Every 2 weeks, Nails has me. So they're due this Saturday. Some
Yeah.
people, oh, I like this in the chat. Some people meditate and it doesn't work for you. You know what? That's okay. And that's something to keep in mind with what we're talking about today, like with stress management or self care. It's
Hmm.
not a one size fit all. Because I'm with you there too. Get me to sit still for meditation. It's not happening. But taking a mindful walk and paying attention to my surroundings, that's more the ticket for me.
A good way to meditate that I learned is when you're in bed. You're already in bed, you're already, set to go to bed. Just put on like a 10-minute meditation. Sometimes that also helps you fall asleep.
Huh. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Have to talk it out and solve the issue. You know what? That's sometimes we need to talk to ourselves and figure this out. And I like that. Solve it. That sounds more like, treating it like the challenge. Gonna
Mhm.
figure this thing out. Yeah. All right. Um,
So,
yeah. Well, I really appreciate the chats, guys. I'll keep us going then, because we're gonna look at
yes.
unhealthy ones now too, I think. Spoiler
Yes.
alert. Let's see.
So unhealthy stress management strategy. Alcohol and smoking, illegal substance. So again, students, we always think of the fastest way to get rid of the issue, and most of the time, because we're stuck with people that's in our age group, we tend to gravitate towards the alcohol and smoking and illegal substance. But there are other ways, healthier ways to get rid of stress. Eating habits, that's one of my thing. So I'm a snacker, so I snacks a lot when I'm stressed. Zoning out, um, that can also be an issue when you zone out of the situation because then you're not taking it as a challenge. So it's the problem doesn't really it doesn't solve like the stress is still going to be there. Just you're basically zoned out. Withdraw from friends and family. Isolation is it's not something that's very safe to do, but sometimes we do need like that space to be able to collect our thoughts and to process what is going on. So I know somebody said taking a nap, sleeping. Um, is a little. It depends. I think it depends personally. I might just need to sleep to be able to again collect my thoughts, but sleeping in a way the problem doesn't go away. So talking it out is very important. Procrastination. I'll take care of that later. That's me as well. So it is important to again take it as a challenge. Take it head on and try to solve the issue. Taking stress out on others. I know earlier somebody mentioned that they tend to take it out on others. It's important to talk it out and to just basically iron out everything that's going on with you, and that will really reduce a lot of the tension and a lot of the anger that you feel within yourself. So yeah, that's yours.
Okay. All right. And it's something to, Blessing made a comment about, how like with these unhealthy coping strategies that they don't really take care of the issue. They don't really take care of the stress. They may have helped initially, but long term, it's not going to be your best bet. It's going to lead to more issues on their own. Um, but as we dive into self care, um, I just, I throw up there that it's personal, because when we're going to be talking about self-care, just like those stress management strategies, that, some of them maybe we're like, yeah, that sounds like me. Other ones maybe like, yeah, no, that's not me. Um, so when we're talking about self-care, we're going to be talking about how we can take self-care and make it personal for us, because what's self-care for me might not be self-care for you. But to kind of get us in the mindset to think about self-care, you don't have to answer these questions. You're more than welcome to in the chat though, because we, if you can't tell, Blessing and I like to read them and like to chat them out with you. Um, but I want you to kind of think about, right now with school, why are you working towards what you want to work towards in school? Why are you in this field? Why are you a student? What gets us up in the morning? And what keeps us going during the day? Now my joke is it's my super hot latte every morning from Big B, but that's not all that keeps me going during the day, but it certainly does help. Um, that's right, to help people, that purpose in life. Oh, phew, my ears are ringing, because that purpose in life, more of a Dunkin' girl. Me too. I got a Dunkin' near the house, but Big B can really just offer me all the options and makes me feel super special, like I'm their number one and only customer. Um, but that purpose in life, that's what drives us, and that's what's going to drive our self-care, because you want to help people. That's great. I mean, heck, you're talking to us, we're therapists, we like to help people too. But it's important that in order to help people, we're making sure that we're doing the best we can to make sure we're in the good headspace, that we're feeling our best to keep doing what we're going to do. Because with stress like that, ongoing stress of just being in stressful fields, that can certainly put us at risk just to burn out. But I like that sense of purpose. I want you guys to keep that, your own reasons why you're here, that big question, why are you here? But also, what keeps you going during the day. I want you to keep that here while we work through some of this self-care together. Now, I'm sure we've heard the word self-care a few times now, just from doing this tonight, but also when it comes to mental health, especially the year 2020, pandemic, everything that's been going on, even now into this year. Self-care has been something that has been brought up a lot when we talk about mental health. And sometimes self-care, um, it kind of shifts to focusing on just doing things, and there isn't really that attention to why, or what are we getting out of something. I'm big on treating yourself. I mean, that's what I do. Hair, nails every 2 week, hair every 6 weeks. Um, I'm big on that. Uh, but that's not all there is to my self care. And when it comes to self care, this is where we have to actually we think a little bit more. Self care is something that we deliberately do to take care of part of our wellness. And the reason for that, is because sometimes, self care can turn into a chore, or self care doesn't have to be something that costs us money or anything like that, but it's something that we're doing that's taking care of part of our wellness. And notice we're both mental health professionals. We got mental, emotional, and physical up there, because your health is more than just mental. That we know it's the whole person that we're focusing on. But self-care sounds really easy. We take care of ourselves, but it's actually something that's easily overlooked. And it's something that sometimes we got to get the hang of. But that good self-care for us can help us overall with our mood, reducing our anxiety and stress. But like what I hinted earlier, it can also affect our relationships in a positive way with ourselves, but also others. And it's something that takes time. And the good thing about self-care is that it's flexible. It can change depending on what we need and the situation we're in. I imagine your normal routine probably changed when we went kind of virtual with everything. So we're going to take our self-care and make sure we can adapt it no matter where we're at with our lives. And the word unhealthy is up here. And like when we're talking about unhealthy stress, or unhealthy self-care, I know I said it a few times, but I want to make sure we really emphasize it. We're not judging it. We're not. It's unhealthy because it's not effective long term. Good self-care, good stress management helps us kind of think about our feelings, helps us process them, helps us feel like we can manage them better. If it's unhealthy or negative, it doesn't. It suppresses it. It makes it go away for a little bit, but then it comes back swinging because we didn't really address it. But you know what? It's also important that we know what an unhealthy self-care is. As you see me move around, it's because I just got a leg cramp, the joy of doing this inside. But self-care is not something we should force ourselves to do. Though it can feel sometimes that we gotta go through the motions with it. Um, but if we don't enjoy it, it might be time for a different type of self-care strategy because it's something personal for us. And I know in the chat we talked a little bit about like meditation, how that can be beneficial for some and not for others. And yeah, Blessing, I might steal that bedtime routine with some of my clients because that's interesting. I got a few, and I'm sure we probably have experienced this too. Just I use the big we, but sometimes anxiety and stressful thoughts really come out at night when we're trying to go to bed because we're stuck. We can't distract ourselves. So they just come on out. Um, but self-care, it's not selfish either. Engaging in self-care. It may feel like it though, because we have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of things that we have to get done. And sometimes, especially in the helping profession, when we focus on ourselves instead of others, it can certainly feel selfish. And self care is us recognizing that we need something. It's almost like treating yourself like you would a friend. When your friend says they need help, you're going to help them. So if you need help, asking yourself, okay, what can I do to help myself? What do I need right now that's going to comfort me or reassure me? And that's where the self care wheel comes in. It's a wheel because you're not just one slice when it comes to your wellness. And I know we've got a lot of slices up here, and you're probably going, what the heck do some of these things mean? That's a good question. But we'll take a look, right? We're thinking physical, psychological, treat that like mental, like your thoughts, your mental well being, emotion, your feelings. Now, spiritual does not mean religion, okay? It can, but spiritual, think more so like that sense of purpose, your connection to others, the bigger picture, what you're working towards. Personal, I call that your personal slice. It can be whatever you want it to be, something that's personal for you. And even professional, going through school, going through work, our professional self care is important as well. So, what I'm wondering, we'll open this up to the chat or mics, whatever you feel comfortable with. We're in no way telling you how to respond one way or another. Um, but when we're looking at this, off the top of your heads, what do you think are some self care things that we do for ourselves that we enjoy doing? What do you think are some things that you're doing now that we might be able to place? And I call them slices because I'm hungry. But what do you think we can throw in there?
Someone said working out.
Working out. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit of exercise, right?
Hmm.
And it can be like a workout. I know some of the gyms they're open at some sort of capacity, so that can be there too. Yeah. So exercise. And Eric, if you feel like responding more so in the chat, working out, what do you think? I know that helps with the physical, but I'm wondering, does it overlap, you think, into some of the other slices on the wheel? And I'm seeing eating our
Our
favorite
favorite
food.
food.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. I'm a nosy counselor. Yeah, maybe personal. Yeah, Eric. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot in the chat. But it's something to think about when we're talking about self-care. You can double dip. It's okay. Because, for example, exercise. And I just got done working with a student about this today, how exercise helps the student feel physically better about themselves, but also helps them feeling like they accomplished something. So it affects the emotional part too. So and that motivation. Um, but I'm seeing food, Netflix. Yeah,
Netflix.
that's it's a balance, Prince. It's a balance on Netflix. I have every streaming service I think under the sun. So it's a balance with it, but it can certainly be something, we do need a break. Yeah. Ooh, organizing items in the room. Yeah. Organized room, organized life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's interesting too, because it can help, like what you're saying here, have organizing, getting your life together. That's something we can control, right? We can control our organization, and that might help kind of calm our stress and anxiety down a bit. What else? What else hobbies do we have? What do we like to do? Like for me, you might have saw a typo a few slides ago that said cosplay. I like to do costumes. That's my self-care. And I actually did a workshop on costuming and self-care and mental health at an anime con before we shut down from quarantine. But what do you guys do? What are your hobbies? You can tell I'm a nosy therapist.
I think you
Playing
you
Like
got
to
sports.
travel.
Yeah. Playing sports, yeah. Travel, oh, traveling. Good times, Blessing, huh? Good times
I
being able
know.
to, yeah. Oh, good
Or just
times.
going for a drive.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I get my coffee every morning. I go for my little drive to Bigby right down the road and I get my coffee and I come back.
Mm.
Yeah. When we had snow, I got to be one of those annoying Jeep people. It was awesome. Like, yeah. Oh, okay. See you later. I got four-wheel drive in my Jeep. Oh, what else do we like to do? Definitely love to drive. Yeah, driving, right? Yeah.
Listening to music. Someone said
Mm.
I like entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you got
Music.
to see one of mine. So my ferrets is I got them before quarantine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Journaling.
Definitely fur babies, right? And we got to make sure we take care of ourselves. So who's going to take care of our fur babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah. Journaling, that's an
Yeah.
interesting one. Yeah. And the reason I say interesting is because, journaling, if it's a good fit for us, it's a good fit. But that's something that's a real active form of self-care that we don't really think about as being active, but it takes a lot of
Mm-hmm.
work to journal. Yeah. Anything else? Me, I'm like curious. I'm fishing. What else we got out there? I'm always curious what people like to do.
It could be as simple as just like hanging out with friends or,
Mhm.
reading a book,
Talking to funny
funny
people.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. Humor. Humor can help. It's a balance though, right? But being able to have a little bit of a sense of humor can help us. It can help us with that flexibility too, in our heads, or I call it our headspace, right? So that we're able to kind of go with the flow when things happen. Yeah. Oh yeah. I use humor is something I use every day, um, because I if I can't laugh at something that I know, "Phew, this is really serious, I gotta," but just being able to go, huh, just keep rolling with it. Yeah. And so what we have on here, these are some awesome self-care strategies, by the way. These are self-care strategies that we kind of bring up with clients we work with because they're shown to be really helpful for us. Um, But I want you to keep in mind, if you can, I know I'm asking you guys to do a lot outside of this workshop, but I want you to challenge yourselves when you're engaging in some of these things you like to do. Just reflect and think about what it does for you and maybe what it's not doing for you. Because if you take a look at this wheel, we are more than just a few things. And it's okay to have more than one self-care strategy. What do you guys think? Even like basic self-care, getting up every morning. If you feel like showering, brushing your teeth, having breakfast. So, we're talking a lot about self-care strategies, but I don't want you to feel like you have to add too much more to what you're already doing. It's what we are doing right now. It's to reflect and be mindful. Yeah, definitely humor can help us, with an anxious thought. And, out of all the mental health concerns and things out there, anxiety is my favorite because it's a feeling. But when it reaches to a point, it's a feeling that's doing a little bit more. But, a little bit of anxiety can actually help us. Stress can be a little bit beneficial for us because stress is what keeps us going. Stress is what pushes us to change. But I really appreciate the comments in the chat. That's how we're able to kind of literally chat it out with you on self-care. Stress keeps us safe. Yeah, it does. It does. It keeps us safe. It lets us know something's going on, but also, fight or flight. What's the other one that happens? I'm always curious. When we're feeling anxious, we fight. We might run away from something.
Might
What else
freeze.
happens? Freeze. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when we freeze or we'll be doing something and our mind just goes completely blank. Sometimes I work with students where there's like an exam and just goes all gone. But yeah, it's a fight, flight, or freeze response. Yeah. And just like everything that's going on in our lives, it's a balancing act. When I mentioned, anxiety, it's a feeling. It is. It's a feeling. And notice I didn't call it a good feeling or a bad feeling. It's a feeling. You don't need to throw anything in front of it. But, it is a balancing act when we're feeling like we're having a good day for us or a bad day or maybe a meh day. It's not good, not bad, but I'm going through the motions. And that's all right. It's okay to have bad days and meh days. Just when we're experiencing those days, we're really trying to push through to try some self-care for us. And we're being mindful and curious with ourselves. It's like that big why question. Why am I feeling this way? What is this doing for me? What can I do about it? And notice these questions kind of connect to the 3 A's that Blessing talked about. And if you haven't noticed, I know you all saw it, that it had Countula on there, and he was counting them down 1, 2, and 3 for us. That's my man. That's about as much math as I can do as well. So I want to thank him for getting him through my PhD stats classes. But see, I use humor. That's my thing. But it does connect to this. We're questioning things. We're asking, what's it doing for us? And then what can I do about it? And that can be, there are some times where avoiding things can be helpful, but really it's that altering and acceptance. Acceptance is the hardest one out of all those. And acceptance doesn't mean that we agree with things. It means we accept where they're at, because then we can try to alter and see what we can do about it. But, when we had a few slides ago, I asked you, what gets us going during the day? What gets us up in the morning? A sense of purpose. You want to help people. Remind yourself of that. That's why you're taking care of yourself. It's because you want to make sure that not only, you're doing okay, but that the people you want to take care of, they have you too. And your self-care routine, what you do during the day to get through the day, things you like to do, hobbies, that's not set in stone. It is totally okay for those to change with us. Because we change. We're still the same person, but our roles kind of change and we adapt. So your self-care can adapt as well. But that's all. I really mean that. That's okay that it changes. But it's important for us to keep reflecting on things that really help us with our wellness, that help us not only feel better, but help us feel like remind us of that sense of purpose that we have. And then last but not least, Blessing and I are at CAPS virtually at Wayne State. So we always got to plug where we're at. But if you're ever thinking about counseling, registered Wayne State students, we got you. If you're not, you can still reach out to us. We'll help you connect to services. But we're doing everything virtual. But if you ever need to get a hold of us, give us a call. If you need to talk to a counselor during the evening or on the weekend, feeling stressed, just need someone to chat with, that's what our after hours is there for. And it's still confidential. Even us doing this virtually, everything's confidential. But it's not on there, but our website's really easy. It's caps.wayne.edu. And if you are thinking about counseling, we start off with an initial consult. You get to chat with a counselor for a bit. You can schedule that all online now. You don't even need to call us. But also we have information about our groups. We do workshops. And like we mentioned earlier, we do Let's Talk, which is just kind of drop-in, check-in counseling. If you're ever worried about another Wayne State student and you want to make sure that somebody can check in on that student, that's what a care report is. And I can't say it's confidential because it's not therapy, but the individual doesn't know you're doing a report, but it connects with the Dean of Students office so they can connect other departments so we can make sure that the student you're feeling worried about is okay. And then my last big one I want to promote is, and I'm biased, I'm also a supervisor, so I supervise here. But if you ever know of anybody in the state of Michigan right now, because they're doing virtual, if they need counseling or want counseling, they're thinking about it. The Mental Health and Wellness Clinic, that's where my graduate counseling students complete second round of clinicals. And they provide free counseling to the whole community, free unlimited counseling. So if you ever know of anyone who needs to talk to someone, right there for you. And we also have Warrior Chat if you ever need to talk to just a fellow student, a fellow peer. That's there for you too. And like I said, my name's Steph, and we got Blessing. And you can see here, I am big on using SpongeBob for things because SpongeBob's been around forever. So there is a meme for everything. But we do have 3 minutes left officially until 7. But we can open it up. Does anyone have any questions or anything like that? Because we're here. And we'd love to answer any questions that come up. And that can be in the chat or on the mic. We're open to whatever you feel comfortable with.
How many sessions do you guys offer for students?
Good question. So students right now, we're short-term counseling, so you get 12, but that's always on a case-by-case basis too. Some students see us longer. It's not like you hit 12 sessions and we kick you to the curb. That's on a case-by-case. I've seen some clients much longer than 12 sessions because it wouldn't be responsible of me to say, yeah, therapy's ending. But we also do the full therapy, and then since we're virtual, we also do check-ins as well, like just quick check-ins to see how people are doing. But yes, it's 12 sessions for sure, and that's with individual. For our group counseling, I am not aware of a session limit on groups. We're big on our groups, and we're doing those virtual. Very, very good question in the chat there. We're not doing anything in person with therapy services. Right now, Blessing, it's been a year of CAPS being virtual. Oh my goodness. I still remember when we got kicked out of the Student Center building.
What I think what he's saying, or for Haz is saying, is that can he just have an individual session? Yes.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't have to meet in group. You can have
Oh,
just your counselor and you, a session, but there's a process like Steph was saying. You come in, you fill out the paperwork, and then they set you up for an IC. That's an initial consultation. And then after meeting with the counselor, then the clinical team needs to determine, if CAPS would be suitable for you. And then from there, they do an intake, and then you start your session with your counselor.
thank you. Thank you, Blessing. I just saw the chat popped up and I immediately hopped to promoting groups some more.
Yes.
Now a lot more students do the individual counseling, more so than the groups. But we offer both because, in my experience, a lot of clients, they can do both.
Mhm.
The individuals one-on-one of a counselor, and then the group, you still have a counselor, but you also have like a little built-in support group
Yes.
as well. But the first thing is just our website. And you know what? I know I spelled it out, but that's our first step, because the initial consult, you can schedule that online if whatever fits kind of your schedule during the day, Monday through Friday. And that's where you fill out some paper. Just let us know how you doing, what brought you to us, and then you chat with a counselor for a little bit for us to determine how to best help you, and how to best address your needs. Yeah.
And to add, like if you're not sure about coming to CAPS yet and you just want to get a feel of it, you can also come to Let's Talk, and then their counselor there will also direct you on how to fill the paperwork. So that's another way to just get a feel of, how it's gonna be, and then and see from there.
Right. And that can also be accessed at the website too. We have all the different Zoom links, and it's not like you're hopping into a Zoom session like this with other people. It's one-on-one with a counselor. Everybody kind of goes into a waiting room. But no, we'll chat with you for like 15 or so minutes. And sometimes it's connecting it to CAPS for full therapy. But I've had students that have just hopped in and checked in with me throughout a whole semester. Like, hey, I did this on my exam and now I'm going to do this. And I'll be like, cool, let me know how it goes next week. And we just keep going on and on. So it's us. We've really adapted it just so that we can really be there with us being virtual, because we know it's hard. We're all kind of isolated in our all virtual bubbles right now.
When classes go back in person, do you guys still think there's going to be online?
Good question. I just got, you know what? I got an email today. It is, so odds are there's going to be both. And this is me just speculating. I'm in no way a higher up for any sort of call. I just sound like I know what I'm talking about. But it's true. That's how you get through a graduate program. Sound like you know what you're talking about. But Wayne State is looking for a mixture of virtual, for online and in-person classes for the fall. With services at Wayne State, it's going to be a mixture. With CAPS, we really, this is the clinical, we kicked a lot of butt to get up and running virtual. So many hurdles to get through. So odds are we'll probably be offering a mix of telehealth and in person, but I can't officially declare that as for sure. But that's looking like to be on the path, that we're on. We'll probably offer both, just because some students we've really been able to reach doing telehealth. I mean, I know I see a few of you on camera. Just think to yourself, do you like to drive down to Wayne State and pay for parking? No. So, right? I miss Wayne State. I miss the campus. I do not miss driving and paying for parking. That's just not, never going to be happy with that. But we'll probably be offering both if Wayne State does some things in person. It's just fingers crossed that our the health committee and restart committees overseeing that feel that's safing. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like 45 minutes away. I'm 45 minutes north. coming to you live from Chesterfield Township. But yeah, it's a drive, and it's hard. Like if we have classes that go, into rush hour time or later into the evening, that's a hard commute. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think Wayne State's going to be offering both. The online stuff isn't going to go away, but they're going to start offering some in person because some classes are hard to do online, and online learning, it's not for everyone. It really isn't, especially if we've been kind of forced into it. Yeah, yeah. You got to find a parking spot. And if you're parking on the street with a meter, you got to time it just right because they'll give you a ticket right when that meter expires.
Mhm.
Um, I did a training one time and some poor guy got a ticket. And then another training, some guy got his car towed because he was illegally
Wow.
parked. Oh my goodness. I felt bad, but I'm like, I got to run. I got a class. Sorry. Go find your car. But yeah, it's rough. Yeah. So there will be some adjustments, right? If we do go back to in person, it's going to create some stress in us, I imagine, going back to in person, getting out of this routine. Yeah. Anything else, guys? All right. Well, the last question I have for you for tonight, I know I've asked a lot, is 7 o'clock now. If you're like me, I'm not a night owl, but I'm wondering either tonight or maybe tomorrow, what's one thing we're going to do to take care? What's some self-care we're going to do? Like example for me, when I'm done with this, I'm doing some paperwork, and then I got a date with Switch. Switch has been good to me, and I gotta keep our evening dates for my Animal Crossing island. So, what are we gonna do to take care? Walk the dog, love it. Chapter 5 done
That's
for Ken.
definitely. It's like
Ooh, yes, yes. Get that quiz done, Ace it. Go for a walk. Yeah, it's pretty nice out still. Yeah.
make some green tea and FaceTime friend. I love green tea.
Nice, nice. Yes, and that social interaction, right? We're doing the best we can of things being virtual,
Mhm.
interacting with others. All right, I like that. So I'm hearing a little bit of exercise, getting out of the house a little bit, but also I'm hearing staying on top of our professional self-care and
Mhm.
knocking out some things we got to do for classes.
I'm gonna
I'm
actually
going to
eat
bed.
breakfast before I go to work at 4. So
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, you know what? If you feel that energy, because I'm up at 4 too. So if you feel that energy, it's me. Okay, we'll be on the same wavelength at 4 a.m. Yeah. All right. And I'm seeing talk to friends, painting. Ooh, nice. Finishing your quiz. Yeah, get that quiz done. You don't need that hanging over your head. Get that done. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And Prince, I'm digging your Wayne State background too. That's some good warrior background there. That's right. I love how we can do backgrounds in Zoom. Teams makes you work for it too sometimes
Oh
with backgrounds.
yes.
I'm just like, look, my office at Wayne State is just as colorful. So you get the full stuff package, even doing virtual. Um, but yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that we've got some self-care strategies, at least for tonight and tomorrow. But if you ever need to talk to somebody, CAPS is here. We're just not in the student center building on the 5th floor right now. But if you give us a call, or if you want to do an initial consult and you get that scheduled, um, we're going to talk to you. We're here for you. We want you to do well. And kind of like what Blessing and I have been talking about with self-care and whatnot, we're in this with you too, going through this pandemic and everything else. So please feel free to reach out to us. We're here for you. Um, but if that's it, then I don't know if there's an official like ending everyone's going, or what we're doing with the workshop. But that's what we have on stress management and self-care for y'all tonight.
yeah, thank you guys so much for being here today and talking about this subject. I know some people don't like to talk about mental health, but I have a mom who's very much like, go to therapy, and I'm like, okay.
Okay. Okay, Mom. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys. And for our Wayne State students, the attendance the link was just put in the chat. If you're a WSU student, you can click the link and get your attendance hours. And that's it for everyone. I know I'll put the link for CAPS in our group chat, but I don't know if you guys wanted to put any links on our chat right now.
Oh, sure. I think I threw CAPS's website up there. That's the big one. And you know what? That's if you go to that website, we also show mental health resources in the Tri-County area. So I know sometimes students think about Wayne State counseling, but they don't want to do it at Wayne State. They want some other counseling. That's totally fine. Our main thing as mental health professionals is that if you want some mental health help, we want to make sure you get connected, because we've certainly helped students connect to other providers as well. And it's also free with us. I'm sure I probably mentioned it, but I'm just double checking. Counseling's free for us for registered students.
All right, well, thank you guys, and I hope everyone has a great night.
All right.